Hello, and welcome back. Tonight we travel far north, to cold air, to wooden longhouses, to a world warmed only by fire. So get comfortable, maybe pull your blanket a little closer, because this story begins with something small. A thin line of frost. It shows up quietly, resting along the edge of a roof, touching the grass, turning puddles into glass. Winter in the north does not crash into the land. It does not shout. It leans in slowly, like it has all the time in the world. And it does. It is late autumn in Scandinavia, around the 9th century, the Viking Age, a time of ships and sea journeys, yes, but also farms, families, smoke rising from low roofs. There are no streetlights here, no heaters humming in the background, no weather forecast saying, cold front arriving Tuesday. People just feel it. The air changes first. It grows sharp. When you breathe in, it feels clean but almost metallic. Your nose tingles. Your fingers stiffen faster than they did last week. The sun rises later now, and when it rises, it does not climb high. It just hangs low over the horizon, pale, distant, like it is not fully committed to the day. By afternoon, the light already begins to fade. Shadows stretch long across the ground. The forest at the edge of the settlement looks darker than before. The land feels like it is holding its breath. In a small Viking settlement near a fjord, the first frost crunches under boots. Yesterday the ground was mud. Today it snaps and crackles with each step. That sound means something. It means time is short. Across the settlement, smoke curls up into the gray sky. The longhouses sit low and sturdy, built from timber, walls packed with earth and turf, roofs thick and heavy. They look almost like part of the land itself. They have to be, because winter winds here are not polite. A few men stand near a woodpile. They are stacking logs carefully, not too fast, but not slow either. Each piece of wood matters. Each log means heat during a long night in midwinter. A young boy tries to lift a log that is clearly too big for him. He strains. The log tilts. For a moment it looks like he might fall backward with it. His father watches, says nothing, then calmly steps forward and lifts one end. Shared weight. That is how winter works here. Preparation did not start today. It started weeks ago, maybe months. The barley and rye were harvested before the last warm days disappeared. The grain was dried and stored in wooden containers. Fish were caught and hung on racks near the shore. The cold air helps dry them into hard stockfish that can last for months. Meat was salted. Some was smoked. Roots were dug from the earth before the soil turned to stone. Everything must be saved, because when the snow comes, the world shrinks. Travel becomes slow and dangerous. Paths disappear. Rivers freeze. The sea grows dark and rough. The famous Viking ships stay pulled up on shore. Winter is not the season for raiding. Despite what movies might show, even warriors prefer not to swing axes in a snowstorm. Winter is for staying alive. Women move between houses carrying bundles of wool and dried herbs. Roof edges are checked. Gaps in the walls are filled with moss. A tiny crack in October can become a serious problem in January. Inside one longhouse, an older woman presses her hand along a wooden wall. She pauses, feeling for a draft. She nods once. Good enough. She has lived through many winters. She trusts her hands more than her eyes. The animals also feel the change. Sheep crowd closer together in the pasture. Their breath rises in small clouds. Chickens peck quickly at the frozen ground, trying to find the last insects before everything disappears. Soon, many of the animals will be brought inside at night. Yes, inside. In a Viking winter, humans and animals share space. Cows and goats in one end of the longhouse. People sleeping along the walls. It may not smell amazing, but it is warm. And warmth is more important than pride. The days grow shorter still. Morning frost stays longer on the grass. Puddles do not melt at midday anymore. A thin sheet of ice forms over water buckets. Someone taps it gently with a wooden spoon. Crack. It breaks like delicate glass. The sky shifts color. Less bright blue. More heavy gray. Clouds stretch across the horizon like thick wool blankets. Even the sound of the world changes. There are fewer birds now. Fewer insects. The wind feels louder because there is less else to hear. At night, darkness arrives early. It does not rush. It simply settles in and stays. Inside the longhouses, fires burn longer. The scent of smoke clings to clothes and hair. It seeps into wood, into wool, into everything. Smoke is not unpleasant here. It smells like safety. As evening falls, families gather closer to the hearth. The fire pops softly. Shadows flicker along the walls. Outside, frost spreads quietly over the land again. No one panics. No one is surprised. But everyone knows. Winter is coming. And winter in the north is not just cold weather. It is a season that tests food stores, tests roofs, tests patience, tests the strength of walls and the strength of people. Some winters will pass gently. Snow will fall soft and deep. Supplies will last. The sun will return in spring. Other winters will be harder. Storms may howl for days. Livestock may grow thin. Hunger may knock softly at the door. No one can know which kind of winter this will be, so they prepare for the worst. A man steps outside one last time before night fully settles. He looks at the dark forest beyond the settlement. Frost glimmers faintly in the fading light. He exhales slowly. His breath turns white in the air. It is quiet, almost peaceful. The first frost is not dramatic. It is not loud, but it carries a message older than memory. Be ready, because in the cold north, survival does not begin with snow. It begins now, with a thin line of silver on a rooftop, and a people who know exactly what it means. Chapter 2, Preparing for the Long Darkness. The first frost was only a whisper. Now the work becomes serious. Winter in the north is not defeated with bravery. It is defeated with planning. Slow planning, careful planning. The kind that starts before your fingers even feel cold. Because once the snow comes, it is too late to wish you had chopped more wood. The settlement wakes early. Later than summer, yes, but still early enough to catch the weak daylight. The sun rises like it is unsure of itself. Pale, quiet, not very helpful. Men walk toward the woodline with axes resting on their shoulders. The forest smells sharp and clean. Pine and damp earth. The ground crunches under boots now almost every morning. Each tree chosen matters. Not too green, not too thin. Good wood burns steady. Bad wood smokes too much or dies too fast. And nobody wants to sit in January trying to convince a weak log to stay alive. Axes swing in slow rhythm. Thud, crack, thud. The sound echoes softly between the trees. No rushing. Injuries in winter are dangerous. A cut hand when the cold sets in can turn serious fast. So they work steady. Back in the settlement, others stack the wood in tall rows near the longhouses. Neat, tight, protected from wind and snow. Each stack is like a promise to the future. Inside storage huts, sacks of grain are checked again. Barley, right. The harvest from weeks ago has been dried carefully. Moisture is the enemy now. One damp sack can spoil more than food, can spoil hope. A woman runs her fingers through a sack of grain. She listens to the soft dry sound. Good, still safe. Fish hang stiff on wooden racks near the shore. They were caught before the waters turned too wild. Now they dry slowly in the cold air. Hard as wood. Not very exciting to eat. But in midwinter that fish will taste like treasure. Meat was salted heavily, packed tight. Some was smoked above low fires for days. The smoke darkened it, preserved it, gave it flavor. No one here wastes food. Even bones are saved. For broth, for tools, for for whatever use they may find later. Root vegetables were dug before the ground froze solid. Turnips, carrots, onions, stored in cool dark spaces, covered with straw. A child asks if they can eat more bread. The answer is gentle, but firm. Not too much. Rationing does not start when supplies run low. It starts early, quietly, without drama. The animals are watched closely now. Sheep grow thicker wool. Cattle are fed hay gathered during summer. Hay lofts are checked often. If the hay runs out before winter ends, that is trouble. Real trouble. Soon, many animals will sleep inside the longhouse at night. It sounds strange to us, but for them it makes sense. Animals give off heat. Heat is life. Yes, it smells. Yes, it is crowded. But frozen toes are worse. Roof repairs continue. Turf is pressed down firmly. Loose pieces are replaced. Moss is stuffed into small cracks in the walls. It may look simple, but that moss can block icy wind that would otherwise sneak inside at 3 in the morning. And no one enjoys waking up to a frozen draft touching their face. Tools are sharpened. Knives, axes, even farming tools are checked. Not because they will plow fields now, but because winter storms can break fences. And broken fences mean wandering animals. And wandering animals in snow are very hard to find. Children gather smaller sticks for kindling. They carry them proudly. Important work. Even the smallest hands help prepare for winter. Inside the longhouse, wool is spun into thread. The soft hum of spinning fills the room. Slow, steady, almost peaceful. Clothing must be repaired before the worst cold arrives. Cloaks checked for thin spots. Gloves mended. Hoods thickened. Layering is survival. You do not fight the cold with one thick garment. You fight it with many thin ones. Wool traps warmth. Fur blocks wind. Someone jokes that winter is just nature reminding everyone to dress properly. A few laugh. Then they keep working. As days pass, the frost no longer melts at midday. The ground stays hard. The air feels heavier. Clouds gather more often. The color of the world shifts toward gray and white. The sea grows restless. Fewer boats leave the shore. Fishermen choose their days carefully now. One sudden storm can turn deadly fast. Winter preparation is not only physical. It is mental. People begin to adjust their thoughts. Travel plans end. Big journeys wait for spring. Attention turns inward, toward home, toward storage, toward firewood. One evening, a man counts the wood stacks quietly, lips moving slightly, not speaking the numbers out loud. Enough? Maybe, maybe not. There is always that question. Have we done enough? Because winter does not negotiate. If supplies run low, it will not show mercy. So they prepare a little more. Another tree cut, another sack checked, another handful of moss pressed into a crack. The settlement grows quieter as the days shorten. Not sad, just focused. They have seen winter before. They know its shape. They know its mood swings, its long nights, its deep silence. And they know something else. Preparation brings calm. When your wood is stacked high, when your grain is dry, when your roof holds strong against the wind, winter feels less like an enemy and more like a challenge you are ready to meet. As the sky darkens early once again, smoke rises thicker from the longhouses. The smell of supper drifts across the settlement. Simple stew, maybe a piece of dried fish. Warm, filling. Outside, frost forms again along the edges of roofs. This time, no one is surprised. They are ready, or at least, as ready as anyone can be when the long darkness begins to move closer. Chapter 3: The Longhouse. Shelter against the frozen world. The longhouse sits low against the wind, leaning slightly as if it knows what's coming. Thick walls of timber packed with earth and turf, a roof layered with moss and straw. From the outside, it might look simple, even a little rough. But inside, it is everything. Safety, comfort, life itself. You step through the doorway, and the smell hits you immediately. Smoke, wool, and a faint tang of animals. Not exactly the scent of lavender or fresh-baked bread. But here it smells like warmth. It smells like survival. And right now, that is better than anything else. The hearth dominates the center of the longhouse. A low stone fire pit filled with logs crackling and popping. Flames lick upward, sending thin ribbons of smoke toward the roof's small vent. The fire is more than heat. It is life. A quiet guardian in the frozen north. Even as snow piles high outside, the fire turns the longhouse into a little pocket of summer. Well, a very slightly smoky summer. Around the walls, the sleeping platforms are arranged neatly. Straw mattresses stacked on wooden frames, blankets of wool folded carefully. Furs, some from cows, some from deer, are layered thick. Families sleep close together. Close enough to share warmth, and close enough that if someone snores, everyone hears it. Even the youngest children curl up next to their parents. The firelight flickers on sleepy faces, the smoke making eyes heavy, the warmth lulling everyone towards sleep despite the frost waiting outside. At one end of the house, animals are kept during the night. Cows, goats, and sheep huddle together, breathing softly into the room. Their exhalations rise in little clouds, mixing with the smoke from the hearth. The smell is strong, very strong, but the warmth they give, priceless. Frozen toes and noses are far worse than a little animal odor. Survival comes first, luxury comes later. The longhouse is also a workshop. Tools hang along the walls, axes, knives, needles, carving implements, and small wooden frames for weaving. Everything is ready for the quiet work of winter. A man sharpens a knife, its edge catching firelight. A woman mends a cloak, pulling thick thread through a patch with patience. A boy carves a small wooden toy, making tiny chips of wood fly quietly to the floor. The sounds are soft and rhythmic, almost like music. Does work? Yes, but work has a gentle rhythm here, and that rhythm is comforting. Windows are small, if they exist at all. Glass is rare and expensive. Most longhouses rely on the fire and perhaps a few candles for light. Shadows flicker on the walls, dancing across timbers and furs. It's a different world from bright summer days. Colors are muted. Everything is golden brown and gray, but there's peace in that muted light. The world slows down and you are allowed to do the same. Food smells drift from the hearth. Stew simmers gently in a pot. Maybe salted meat, maybe a bit of fish, maybe a root vegetable or two tossed in. Simple but nourishing. And when the wind is howling outside, that smell feels like magic, feels like hope. And sometimes, just sometimes, someone cracks a joke about the stew being mystery meat. The children giggle. The adults roll their eyes. Humor survives here too, even in winter. The longhouse is not a place of luxury. It is not meant to impress visitors. Its purpose is to endure, to hold life, to shelter people and animals from the long, dark, cold months. Every beam, every plank, every patch of moss stuffed into the walls is deliberate. Even the smallest gap can let in a draft that bites at your toes and chills your bones. Preparation and care are survival. Every task is slow and deliberate. Axes are checked, roofs inspected, firewood stacked carefully. Mistakes have consequences. A broken roof in a snowstorm could mean wet beds and frozen children. A forgotten bundle of hay could mean hungry animals. And hungry animals in winter are a problem far worse than a grumpy teenager in summer. Children, though small, have important jobs. They run between the hearth and the walls carrying kindling. They fold blankets. They feed chickens and goats. Every small action matters. Even their play teaches survival. A game of balancing across a beam is practice for climbing logs. A pretend hunt with a stick is practice for the real thing. Children grow up fast here, learning the rhythms of life alongside the seasons. The longhouse is also a social hub. By the fire, people tell stories. They recall past winters. They share memories of ancestors, of raids, of voyages across icy seas. The tales are long and meandering, sometimes humorous, sometimes a little scary. The children listen, eyes wide, but soothed by the slow, rhythmic voice of the storyteller. Each story is more than entertainment. It's a lesson: how to live, how to survive, how to keep calm when the wind rages outside. Even daily chores become comforting. The smell of wool being spun, the quiet tap of a hammer on a piece of wood, the scraping of a knife carving notches into a log. The longhouse hums with life. Soft, warm, steady life. Outside, winter waits, but inside, there is calm. Even meals are more than food. They are an event. Everyone gathers close to the fire. Soup or stew passes from hand to hand. Everyone eats slowly, not because they are polite, but because every bite counts. And in winter, every bite always counts. Someone might joke that the stew has teeth, and everyone laughs softly. Even laughter becomes an act of survival, because it reminds you that winter is cold. Yes, but it cannot touch the spirit inside the longhouse. By evening, the longhouse feels like a small world, a bubble against frost and snow. The wind rattles against the roof. Snow piles up against the walls. Outside, the forest looks black and silent. But inside, there is warmth. There is comfort. There is safety. Even the smallest comforts, the flicker of firelight, a warm drink, a shared laugh, feel like treasure. Because outside, treasure is cold and white. Inside, it is golden and soft. The longhouse is not fancy. It does not have shiny walls or plush floors. But it has what matters: fire, shelter, food, family, friends, animals. And for now, that is enough. As you lie down on your straw mattress, the sound of the fire crackling mixes with the soft breathing of those around you. The frost glimmers faintly along the roof. Outside, winter is waiting. Inside, you are safe. And that is what a longhouse is for. It is not just wood and moss. It is life. It is warmth. It is the shield that keeps the frozen north from touching you too deeply. Tonight, the wind will howl. Snow will fall. Darkness will press against the walls. But inside there is calm. And for tonight, that is everything. Chapter 4: Fire. The heart of winter survival. If the longhouse is the heart of a Viking settlement, then the fire is the heartbeat. Without it, everything slows. Cold creeps in. Bones ache. Spirits droop. And food? Well, food doesn't even dream of cooking without it. Inside the longhouse, the hearth sits at the center. A low stone pit filled with wood that crackles and pops. The smoke spirals upward, finding its way out through a small opening in the roof. It is never perfect. Smoke always drifts down the walls sometimes, but the Vikings are used to it. A little soot on your cloak is better than frozen toes. Tending the fire is a full-time job in winter. Someone must feed it constantly. A log too small? The fire dies too fast. A log too wet? Smoke chokes the room and stings the eyes. Too many logs? Flames flare up dangerously close to blankets or the thatched roof. It is a delicate balance. The fire is more than warmth. Cooks the food. Boiling stew, toasting bread, melting snow for water. Every meal depends on it. A fire that sputters too early in the day could ruin supper. And in winter, supper is sacred. A hot meal in midwinter is like a small festival every day. Children watch the fire carefully, not just for warmth, but for lessons. They learn how to place logs, how to move embers, how to coax a flame from a stubborn piece of wood. One day they will tend the fire alone, and the family will trust them to do it right. Mistakes have consequences. Too many, and winter becomes much harder than it needs to be. The fire also provides light. Windows are small if they exist at all, and daylight is short. By midwinter, the sun may rise late and disappear early. Inside, the fire casts long, flickering shadows on the walls. It turns the longhouse into a theater of shapes. Shadows of tools, furs, people all dancing across the wooden timbers. Even animals, resting nearby, seem larger in the warm glow. Storytelling takes place by the fire too. Men and women, old and young, gather close. Tales of gods, heroes, and distant lands fill the room. Some are funny, some are scary, all are comforting. The fire is steady, this light is steady, and the slow rhythm of the story matches the flickering flames. Children's eyelids droop, soothed by warmth and voice. Fire teaches patience. You cannot rush it. You cannot yell at it. You cannot demand it behave. You must respect it. Feed it when it's hungry. Let it breathe when it's too hot. Watch it carefully. Small acts, repeated every day, keep the house alive. Sometimes, when the wind is fierce outside, the fire is a shield. Snow rattles against the roof, gusts press against walls. Cold slides under doors, but the fire pushes it back. Steam rises from the cooking pot. Smoke rises from the roof vent. The air is alive with warmth. It feels like a tiny sun in the middle of winter. Even the sound of the fire matters. Crackle here, pop there, a soft hiss of sap turning to smoke. It is the soundtrack of winter life. There is no music box, no instrument. The fire itself sings, and those who listen closely learn to understand its moods. Tending the fire is also social. People gather around it, share chores, and talk quietly. Someone moves a log, another stirs the stew. A child runs to toss a small piece of kindling into the flames. Flames flare. Everyone laughs softly. Small warmth, small joy. Survival is not just about enduring cold. It is about finding these little moments. The fire even gives hope. Long nights, long dark hours, deep snow. It seems endless, but each flame is a reminder. Life continues. Heat continues. Food will be cooked. People will survive. Tomorrow the fire will burn again. And the next day, and the next. There is a rhythm to it. A daily ritual that organizes life in winter. Wake up, tend fire, cook, feed animals, mend clothes, sleep, repeat. Without the fire, nothing else works. It is central to survival. It is central to calm. Sometimes there are mistakes. A log splits unexpectedly. Smoke fills the room. Children cough and giggle. Someone swats at the air. Fire is tricky, but every mistake is a lesson. By midwinter, most people know exactly how much wood, exactly how much air, exactly how much patience a fire needs to stay alive. At night, the fire is low, embers glowing softly. Families huddle closer. Some nap, some tell stories. Some just watch the smoke curl toward the roof. Outside, the frost waits. The wind whistles through the trees. Snow presses against the walls. But inside, the longhouse is alive. Warm, safe, steady. Even humor finds a place here. Someone might say, "Don't let the fire get lonely." Or, "Be careful, it might burn your eyebrows off." Small jokes, small laughs. Even in the darkest, coldest winter, life has room for a smile. Fire is the heartbeat of the longhouse. Without it, everything stops. Food freezes. Water turns to ice. People shiver. Animals move less. Darkness grows heavier. Life slows down. But with it, the longhouse is a tiny sun in the frozen north. It is steady. It is calming. It is alive. And it reminds everyone inside. Winter may be long, dark, and cold, but as long as there is fire, there is hope. Chapter 5: A Day in Midwinter. From dawn to dusk. In the middle of winter, the day has a rhythm all its own. Not the kind of rhythm you see in summer, with sunlight stretching lazily across fields. No, winter days are short, quiet, and deliberate. From dawn to dusk, life slows down. Everything takes longer. Even breathing feels heavier when the cold presses in. The sun rises late. Sometimes it barely peaks above the horizon before it sinks back down. A pale, tired circle in the sky, barely lighting the frost-covered ground. Outside, the first task of the day begins before many are fully awake. Buckets of water, frozen overnight, must be tapped with a wooden stick to break the ice. The sound is soft but clear. Tap, crack, tap. Water drips slowly from the shards of ice into waiting pails. Every drop counts. There is no rushing this. Ice must be handled carefully, or you risk spilling the precious water that will keep the household alive. Animals need attention next. Cows, goats, and sheep stir as humans enter the longhouse. They nuzzle, stamp, or shift to warm themselves. Hay is carried in from storage lofts, thrown gently into troughs. Chickens are coaxed to move. It is a slow, almost meditative process. You cannot hurry animals in winter. They know the cold better than anyone. Breakfast is simple, nourishing, and hot. Porridge made from barley or oats simmers over the hearth. A little salted butter, if it is available, is stirred in. Maybe a few dried berries, preserved from summer. Everyone eats slowly. There is no need to rush when the sun barely rises. And besides, a full stomach is the best armor against frostbite. By mid-morning, work continues indoors. Snow blankets the land outside, making outdoor labor nearly impossible. People mend clothes, spin wool, carve wood, or sharpen tools. The rhythmic sound of spinning wheels and tapping hammers fills the longhouse. Children help where they can, running small errands, carrying kindling, or weaving simple mats. Occasionally, a child trips over a rug or bumps into a bucket. Someone chuckles. "Careful, don't fall in the stew next time," says a parent, and laughter spreads briefly. Even in the frozen north, humor survives. Around noon, the sun reaches its highest point, though it is still low on the horizon, and warmth is almost non-existent. Shadows stretch long across the snow outside, and the frost glints in pale light. Some brave souls venture outside to check on distant animals, clear snow from paths, or check firewood stacks. It is quiet, the kind of quiet that presses against your ears. The only sounds are crunching snow, the occasional clatter of ice breaking, or the soft bleat of sheep. Lunch is a repeat of simple fare. Perhaps a piece of bread dipped in broth or a few slices of smoked fish. Food is modest but filling. Conversation is gentle. Eyes are often drawn to the fire, to its steady flames, to the smoke rising lazily toward the roof. Outside may be bitter and silent, but inside, life hums along like a soft melody. After the meal, there is a slow rhythm of chores. The wind outside pushes against the longhouse walls, rattling loose moss and stirring up little flurries of snow. Inside, families maintain their small kingdom. Water is checked again, logs shifted, clothes adjusted. Some mend holes in cloaks, others sharpen knives. Every small task counts. In winter, nothing is too small to matter. Evening approaches swiftly. The sun sinks back toward the horizon, leaving the sky a pale wash of gray and orange. Shadows creep longer. Snow crunches under booted feet outside, but inside warmth remains. Meals are prepared slowly. Stew simmers over the hearth. The aroma drifts across the house, mingling with smoke and wool. Children grow sleepy, but they help where they can, stirring a pot or fetching kindling. Occasionally, someone remarks, "Don't drop the spoon in the fire. The stew might bite back." Tiny laugh, a small moment of levity. By late afternoon, the longhouse settles into a quiet rhythm. The fire glows brighter as logs are added. Shadows dance across walls. Families gather near the hearth, exchanging small talk. Stories are told, legends of ancestors, tales of distant lands, myths about gods and heroes. Some stories are funny, some serious, some a little scary. The fire keeps the shadows alive, flickering across faces, illuminating wide eyes and tired smiles. Even the animals appear to listen. They shift in their straw bedding, letting the warmth of the hearth seep into their bodies. Night arrives early. Darkness creeps through the small windows. Snow falls silently outside, piling against the walls. The wind whistles through cracks in the roof and gaps between timbers. But inside, the longhouse is alive. It is warm, safe, steady. People draw their furs closer. Blankets wrap around shoulders. Children are tucked into straw mattresses along the walls. The fire crackles softly, a constant companion. During these long winter nights, the mind can wander. The dark hours are endless, stretching like a river of silence. But the routine of the day, water, animals, food, chores, anchors everyone. It reminds them that even in the coldest, darkest months, life continues. Small routines, repeated day after day, become lifelines. Even laughter and storytelling are lifelines. Even a joke about burning stew or a clumsy child falling in the snow becomes precious. Some nights, storms howl outside. Wind rattles the roof. Snow piles high. Ice clings to doors. Yet inside, people are calm. They have survived this before. They know what to do. Fire must be tended. Water kept from freezing. Food rationed. Animals safe. Everything done carefully, deliberately, slowly. Panic never helps. Only patience and attention. By midnight, the fire is low, embers glowing softly. The longhouse hums with quiet breathing. Some sleep, some watch the fire, some spin wool. Children drift in dreams, soothed by warmth, smoke, and the rhythm of life. Outside, winter presses in, silent and frozen. Inside, life glows like a small sun, soft and steady. The day in midwinter may be short. The sun may barely rise. Darkness may seem endless. But the rhythm, wake, work, eat, tend, sleep, gives structure. It gives hope. It gives warmth. And in the north, that rhythm is everything. Winter may be long, cold, and dark. But in the longhouse, with fire, family, and steady routines, life continues. Slowly, gently, warmly. And when the sun finally rises again in a faint, pale glow, everyone knows. They survived another day. Chapter 6, What They Ate When the World Was Frozen. Winter is not kind to food. Outside, everything is white, frozen, or buried beneath layers of snow. The sea may be icy, the fields gone, and the forests mostly quiet. Yet inside the longhouse, the Vikings eat. Not always lavishly, not always abundantly, but enough. Enough to keep bones warm, spirits alive, and minds steady through the long, dark months. The day begins with a simple breakfast, a steaming bowl of porridge, barley, oats, or sometimes rye, thick and creamy if cooked well, sometimes gritty if the fire faltered. Salt or butter is stirred in if there's any available. A few berries, dried and preserved from summer, may add color. Sometimes children complain it's mud in a bowl, but everyone eats anyway, because hunger in midwinter is a reminder that survival is serious business. Meals are slow, deliberate, and shared. In a longhouse, everyone gathers near the fire. Even the animals are fed first, to keep them calm and warm. Chickens peck, goats nuzzle, cows stamp their hooves. Then humans eat. Food is portioned carefully. Nothing is wasted. Every morsel is a gift. Fish is a staple. Salted, dried, smoked, or stored in cold cellars, it keeps through the months. Stockfish, fish dried so hard it could almost be used as a weapon, is common. It might be boiled in water or added to stews. Sometimes, someone complains that it tastes like wood, and someone else laughs. Well, at least it's nutritious. A little humor makes the monotony of winter food more bearable. Meat is rarer. Animals are kept alive as long as possible. The livestock must survive the months of snow. But when meat is eaten, it is carefully salted, sometimes smoked, sometimes boiled into thick, filling stews. Every bit of flavor is appreciated, because winter does not offer luxuries. Even bones are saved. Boiled slowly, they make rich broth. And broth is gold in the frozen north. It warms, fills, and nourishes in a way that solid food sometimes cannot. Root vegetables are critical. Carrots, turnips, onions, and sometimes cabbage are stored in straw, packed in dry, cool places. They last long, giving color, texture, and nutrients to an otherwise gray diet. Sliced into soups or roasted over embers, they add life to a meal. Sometimes a child will ask, "Can I have more carrot?" And the parent will sigh, "Just enough to stay alive, little one." Everyone understands. Waste is a luxury no one can afford. Grains are life. Bread is made from rye or barley, baked over a hearth. Not fluffy like modern bread, but hearty and filling. Flatbread is common. Sometimes it is eaten alone. Sometimes dipped in stew. Sometimes it is crumbled into hot broth. The texture may be strange to modern eyes, but the warmth and sustenance are unmatched. Dairy is important too. Cheese, butter, and skyr, a thick, tangy yogurt, add fat and calories to the winter diet. They are stored carefully, wrapped in cloth, sometimes buried in cold soil to keep them from spoiling. Butter may be melted to enrich porridge or stew. Cheese is sliced thin and eaten sparingly. Even small amounts are enough to make a difference in the cold months. Ale and mead provide both calories and comfort. Brewed from grain and honey, they are low in alcohol compared to modern drinks. 1 cup warms hands and belly alike. It is a social drink, shared around the hearth in the evening when work is done, stories are told, and the fire burns low. Sometimes someone will joke, "Don't drink too much, or the fire might steal you away." Everyone laughs softly, enjoying the rare indulgence. Fermentation is a secret weapon. Vegetables, dairy, and grains can be preserved in ways that make them last through the winter. Sauerkraut, fermented fish, and pickled roots provide flavor and nutrition when fresh food is unavailable. The taste may be strong, but in midwinter, even the bold flavors feel like a celebration. Rationing is subtle but constant. Meals are small but regular. Nothing is eaten too quickly. Children are taught early to respect food. A dropped piece of bread is almost a tragedy. Every scrap is accounted for. Every portion has value. In the frozen north, hunger is not always immediate, but it is never far away. Respecting food is survival. Occasionally, if the hunting is good, a rabbit, hare, or small deer may be added to the pot. Game meat is fresh, flavorful, and highly prized. But hunting in midwinter is dangerous. Snow makes travel difficult. Cold numbs fingers. Predators roam silently in forests. The risk is high, so the reward must be worth it. And even when hunters return empty-handed, the longhouse survives, thanks to careful preparation and stored food. Meals are also social. Everyone gathers, talks, laughs, and tells stories while eating. The rhythm of the day continues. Porridge in the morning, stew midday, bread and broth in the evening. The fire crackles nearby. Smoke curls lazily toward the roof. Shadows flicker across walls. Even the animals seem to settle into the rhythm of mealtime, shifting slightly in the straw, eyes half closed. The simplicity of winter food also teaches patience. You chew slowly. You savor the taste. You feel warmth spread from your stomach outward. Hunger is controlled not by indulgence, but by discipline. Even children learn this early. They watch adults carefully, seeing that meals are a ritual, not just a necessity. By night, the longhouse smells like life itself. Smoke, bread, stew, and wool. Even the faint scent of livestock contributes to the mix. Outside, frost glimmers in pale moonlight. The wind presses against walls. Snow drifts silently. But inside, everyone is nourished. Bodies are warm. Bellies are full. Minds are calm. And that is the magic of winter food in the north. Not abundance, not extravagance. just careful preparation, simple ingredients, and respect for the resources the land provides. Every meal is a small triumph. Every bite is survival. Every shared laugh around the hearth is proof that life continues, even when the world is frozen. It may not sound glamorous. It may not look exciting. But in midwinter, when darkness presses long and cold bites hard, this simple rhythm of food, porridge, stew, bread, fermented roots, is everything. It is nourishment, comfort, and hope. Because in the north, when the world is frozen, food is more than food. It is warmth, life, and a gentle reminder that the long, dark months can be endured. Together, carefully, patiently, with humor, with stories, and with a little luck. Chapter 7: Clothing Against the Cold North Wind. In the frozen north, clothing is survival. Not fashion, not flair. Survival. A person without proper clothing in midwinter is asking the frost to bite deep into bones. And the cold? It doesn't negotiate. It just arrives, sharp and relentless. Vikings knew this well. They layered wool, fur, and leather to fight winter. The goal wasn't to look stylish. It was to stay warm, dry, and alive. Simple rules. Trap warmth, block wind, keep moisture away. Every stitch mattered. Every layer counted. The first layer is soft, close to the skin. Linen tunics or wool undergarments. Not itchy if you're lucky. They trap the heat your body makes. Moisture is dangerous. Sweat can freeze. So this base layer must be breathable. Breathable yet insulating. It's like giving your body a tiny sleeping bag that you wear all day. Over that, heavier wool tunics or coats. Thick and durable. Sometimes dyed, sometimes left natural. They block the wind, shield from snow, and trap warmth. Cloaks of wool drape over shoulders, often fastened with brooches or pins. The cloak can be pulled tight around the face on bitter days, leaving only eyes to peer out. The effect is both practical and, if we're honest, slightly dramatic, like a Viking superhero wrapped in wool and frost. Fur is critical. Reindeer, sheep, or goat skins are common. Furs line boots, hoods, and sometimes the inside of cloaks. They are soft, insulating, and sometimes even a little scratchy. But scratchy is better than frozen. Every bit of fur counts as a small army against winter. Boots are thick, made of leather, stuffed with wool or straw. Walking through snowdrifts without proper boots is like stepping into icy knives. Boots are checked often, soles repaired, interiors cleaned and dried. If a boot fails, frostbite can happen quickly. A hole is dangerous. Every stitch is life-saving. Gloves and mittens are another layer of armor. Leather, wool, fur, sometimes all three. Fingers are precious. Hands are constantly at work, stacking wood, fetching water, stirring pots. Numb fingers cannot do these things well. Cold hands mean mistakes. Mistakes in winter can be fatal. Hoods and hats are non-negotiable. The head loses heat fast. Wool or fur hoods cover ears and neck. A hat pulled low over the brow keeps warmth from escaping. On the coldest days, people even pull scarves of wool or fur over their mouths, protecting lungs from icy air. Breathing in that cold air too fast can be painful, even dangerous. Children learn clothing rules early. Too many layers? Movement is awkward. Too few? Frostbite waits. Balance is the lesson. Parents teach patients how to wrap a cloak, how to tuck tunics into belts, how to check that gloves are snug but not tight. Every morning, the longhouse becomes a dressing room of careful layering. Zipped, tied, wrapped, and double-checked. Repairing clothing is a daily task. Needles fly through thick wool. Leather is stitched with sinew. Every rip is patched. Every seam reinforced. A single hole in January could turn a jacket useless by February. Preparation is constant. Even small repairs mean life or frostbite. Fur and wool aren't just practical, they are status too. Not in a showy sense, but in subtle signals. The size and quality of a cloak or boots sometimes shows experience or wealth. But mostly they show survival skill. Those who know how to layer, how to repair, how to wear furs correctly, they are the ones who make it through winter. Layering is an art. Too tight and circulation slows. Too loose and wind sneaks in. Movement must remain fluid. Every fold, every tuck, every belt strap adjusted. Even a little discomfort is preferable to being underdressed. There is a saying in the North, better itchy than frozen, and they mean it. Color matters less than function. Browns, grays, muted greens. Everything blends with the land. Dyes are expensive. Survival comes first. Sometimes fur is natural, wool is gray or tan. Sometimes a child will sneak a brighter strip of cloth into their cloak. Because winter is long, they say. A little humor, a little defiance against gray days. Even in frost, humans need color, even if just a sliver. Footwear maintenance is constant. Snow melts in boots during long treks. Insoles must be dried near the fire each night. Leather cracked, patch it with extra layers. Wool wet, let it dry. A frozen, wet boot is a fast track to frostbite. Even a single misstep in winter clothing can have consequences that last long after the snow has melted. Hats, gloves, cloaks, boots, layers. Every piece is part of a system. One weak link, the cold wins. But together, with care, respect, and attention, people survive. They move, hunt, tend animals, and continue daily life. They are armored in warmth, wrapped against the north wind, ready for whatever winter brings. Sometimes humor sneaks in. Someone steps on a loose fur slipper and nearly trips. Watch it, that's a weapon in disguise, someone jokes. A child tucks their oversized hood over their eyes and pretends to vanish. Laughter echoes in the longhouse, warming more than wool or fire ever could. Winter clothing is not glamour, not comfort in the modern sense. It is discipline, preparation, and respect. It teaches patience, resourcefulness, and attention to detail. And when layered properly, repaired constantly, and worn with care, it transforms the longhouse into a moving fortress, a shield against frost, snow, and wind. Even when storms rage, snow drifts high, and wind whistles through cracks in the roof, properly dressed Vikings walk outside. They move wood, they check animals, they fetch water, they keep the settlement alive. Clothing is not just protection, it is freedom. The freedom to survive, to work, to move, to exist in the harshest place on earth. By night, when the fire burns low, clothing continues to serve. Thick blankets, furs, and wool layers are pulled tight. Sleep comes easier when wrapped in warmth. Frost waits outside, relentless, but inside, bodies are insulated, protected, and calm. And for a little while in the frozen north, humans forget the cold entirely. Because clothing, like fire, is more than survival. It is life. Chapter 8: Hunting and Gathering in a Frozen World. Winter is a quiet, frozen enemy. It blankets the land, stiffens the rivers, and hides most of the food that grows in summer. Yet the Vikings still hunt and gather. Not for luxury, but for survival. Every bit of meat, fish, root, or berry could mean the difference between warmth and frostbite, between hunger and a full stomach. Hunting in midwinter is a slow, deliberate art. The snow is deep, hiding tracks beneath new layers with every gust of wind. Visibility is low. Animals are cautious, alert to every sound. A snap of a twig or a misplaced footstep can ruin a hunt. Patience, quiet movement, and careful observation are everything. Men prepare carefully. Weapons are sharpened, arrows checked, spears inspected. Leather boots are reinforced with extra wool or fur. Gloves thick enough to keep hands warm but thin enough to grip the bowstring are chosen. Every detail counts. Cold hands, slippery snow, and stiff muscles can ruin an otherwise perfect shot. The forest in winter is a different world. Trees are skeletal, stripped bare of leaves. Snow glistens on branches. A soft hush hangs everywhere. Even the wind seems to tiptoe. This silence is both beautiful and dangerous. A single sound carries far. A startled deer will bolt, leaving only footprints behind. A rabbit will vanish in a flash of white. Hunters must become part of this quiet world. Move like the wind. Listen like the snow. Wait some more. Tracking animals is as much science as art. Footprints in the snow are studied carefully. The size, the depth, the spacing all tell a story. Where has the animal been? Where is it going? How old is the track? Even the softest footprints can reveal more than an untrained eye realizes. A small child might step on one and ruin hours of observation, but adults smile, knowing that learning takes time. Once the prey is spotted, the approach is careful, slow. Every step measured, breath held. The hunter blends into the forest like a shadow. Wind direction is checked. Sunlight glinting on snow can betray a person's presence. Every misstep could send the target fleeing. And in midwinter, a wasted effort is costly. Energy is precious, and food is not plentiful. Hunting isn't always successful. Many days return empty-handed. That's part of the rhythm of winter. Some mornings are spent tracking a herd of deer, only for the snow to hide them completely. Some afternoons involve following the scent of rabbits that vanish into burrows before a shot can be taken. It is frustrating, sometimes comical, sometimes disheartening. But patience is the only way forward. When a successful hunt happens, it is a small celebration. Even a single hare or rabbit can feed a family for days when prepared carefully. Large animals, like deer or elk, are rare prizes. They are butchered with care. Meat preserved through smoking, drying, and salting. Bones are saved for broth. Every piece has value. Nothing is wasted. Survival depends on respect for the animals and their lives. Fishing is just as important. The frozen rivers and lakes pose challenges. Ice must be broken carefully. Holes are carved. Lines are lowered into frigid water. The fish are fewer now than in warmer months, but every catch matters. Some fish are salted for storage, others cooked immediately over the hearth. Frozen hands, wet gloves, and numb fingers make fishing in midwinter exhausting, but necessary. Gathering edible plants is trickier than in summer. Most herbs are buried beneath snow. Roots, lichens, and certain hardy berries are sought instead. Turnips, carrots, and onions stored in cold cellars supplement the diet. Occasionally, frozen berries are found along sunny edges of forests. Their taste is tart, but they provide vitamins that keep scurvy at bay. Even a small handful is valuable. Foraging in snow also carries risk. Slippery ice, hidden holes, and predators make even the simplest gathering a challenge. Wolves and lynx roam quietly. Birds of prey circle silently. The land is beautiful but dangerous. Anyone venturing out alone must move carefully, listening to the crunch of snow, feeling the shift beneath every footstep. The cooperation of the settlement is key. Children carry small bundles of kindling or water from unfrozen streams. Adults share knowledge of animal behavior, hiding spots, and safe routes through the forest. Hunting is rarely a solitary activity in winter. Even when one person tracks or sets traps, others support from the edges. Safety in numbers is a survival tactic as much as a social custom. Traps are essential. Pitfall traps, snares, and small enclosures help capture rabbits, foxes, or even birds. A simple snare, properly placed, can feed a family when hunting fails. Checking traps is done daily. Ice or snow can interfere. A frozen trap can lose its effectiveness. Patience, observation, and adaptation are constant companions of hunters and gatherers. Despite all the planning, winter hunting is unpredictable. A deer that seemed easy yesterday can vanish entirely today. A rabbit can slip under snowdrifts in seconds. Storms can close paths. Wind can carry scents in unexpected directions. Even seasoned hunters must adapt continually. The frozen world refuses to be tamed completely. Humor is always nearby. Someone might step on a hidden log and fall into a snowdrift. Another might miss a hair by inches. Laughter echoes across the quiet forest, breaking the tension, warming spirits more than a cloak ever could. Even in survival, joy finds its way. The Vikings know this instinctively. Life is about more than avoiding frostbite. It's about living, even when the world seems frozen and harsh. Once the hunt or gathering is complete, the return to the longhouse is slow but satisfying. The snow crunches beneath boots. Animals inside stamp softly, anticipating food. Logs crackle in the hearth. The smell of boiling water and stews fills the air. The cold outside feels sharper now only because it is contrasted with the warmth waiting inside. Inside, the spoils are prepared. Meat is salted or smoked. Fish is cleaned and hung on racks. Roots and berries are sorted and stored. Broth simmers. A single hair can feed the family for days if managed correctly. Every bite is cherished. Every morsel counted. By night, hunters and gatherers rest. Fire warms. Blankets are tucked around shoulders. Stories are told of near misses, clever tricks, and the stubbornness of animals. Laughter and storytelling are survival tools, just as essential as boots, cloaks, and weapons. They remind everyone that even in the darkest months, life continues, and even the frozen world has room for joy. Winter hunting and gathering is not glamorous. It is slow, exhausting, and sometimes frustrating. But it is necessary, because in the north, when the world is frozen, the hunt is more than sport. Gathering is more than work. They are lifelines, stepping carefully, moving quietly, watching endlessly. They are acts of courage, persistence, and wisdom. Every successful hunt, every found root, every captured fish is proof that life can continue even when the world seems locked in ice. And for the Vikings, that proof is everything. Chapter 9: Water, Ice, and the Frozen Streams. Staying hydrated in winter. In the frozen north, water is everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Snow covers the ground, rivers are thick with ice, and lakes glimmer under a hard, frozen crust. It looks like abundance, but water in midwinter is a tricky, elusive thing. You can't just scoop it up. You have to know how to find it, how to melt it, and how to carry it safely. Every morning, before the sun has fully risen, or what passes for sun in January, water is the first concern. Pails of water left outside overnight are frozen solid. Ice must be broken carefully. A sharp tap with a wooden mallet, careful pressure from a stick, or sometimes the slow patience of leaving it near the hearth until it softens. Too fast, and the ice can crack into shards that spill the precious liquid. Too slow, and the family waits thirsty. Streams and rivers are vital sources, but venturing outside in freezing temperatures to fetch water is a challenge. Snow crunches underfoot. Ice slicks make every step dangerous. Wind cuts like knives, and frost builds on eyelashes and beards. Even the strongest adult must move deliberately. One slip could mean a long, cold wait to warm frozen toes back inside the longhouse. Some families prepare by storing water in barrels inside the longhouse. Ice may still form on the surface, but it is softer and easier to manage than outdoor buckets. A simple layer of straw or cloth on top can slow freezing. Clever placement near the fire helps, but never too close. Water too hot can crack containers. Every small detail matters. Melting snow is another method. Snow is scraped from rooftops, swept from paths, or scooped from drifts. It is clean, cold, and requires patience to melt safely. A pot of snow over the hearth gradually transforms into water. Steam rises slowly, filling the longhouse with the faint scent of warmth. Children watch, fascinated by the transformation of cold, white snow into life-giving water. Sometimes someone jokes, "Snow makes a terrible stew," but excellent water. Laughter spreads, warming everyone just a little more. Ice is a tool, too. Thick river ice can be broken and hollowed to create storage containers for water. Ice blocks can insulate pails or protect small crops stored outside. But handling ice is heavy work. Gloves are necessary, hands can freeze quickly, and mistakes are messy. A dropped block of ice can shatter loudly, startling animals and people alike. Yet when handled carefully, it is a clever way to manage a scarce resource. Carrying water in midwinter requires balance and care. Buckets swing, sticks wobble under weight, and snow drifts make every step unpredictable. Families often travel together. One person steadies a bucket while another clears a path. Cooperation turns a mundane task into a small ritual, a shared act of survival. Children are taught early how to balance pails, how to test ice, and how to walk carefully without spilling or slipping. These lessons, repeated every winter, become second nature. Even storing water involves strategy. Barrels, clay pots, or wooden buckets are placed carefully to minimize freezing. Straw or cloth covers prevent ice from forming too quickly. Some families dig small pits inside storage huts or near the hearth to keep water cool but not frozen solid. Every method is tested and refined over years of experience. Water is too precious to risk carelessness. Snow also provides entertainment, sometimes accidental, sometimes intentional. Children occasionally knock over a pail or step into a drift, sending a spray of snow into the air. Adults scold softly, but smiles usually follow. Humor is important. Even in freezing temperatures, joy warms the soul. One mischievous child might joke, "Look, I made my own waterfall." Everyone laughs, tension easing. The frozen world feels a little less harsh. Hydration is not just for comfort, it is survival. Bodies lose moisture even in cold air. Breathing frozen wind dries throats and lungs. Sweat accumulates under layers of wool and fur. A sip of fresh water can refresh, revive, and prevent serious illness. Vikings understood that a frozen mouth could be dangerous. A dry throat could turn simple chores into dangerous endeavors. Ice also affects food preparation. Snow or ice water is used to rehydrate grains, clean vegetables, or prepare broth. Salted meat may need to be soaked before cooking. Fish dried in winter must sometimes be softened. The presence or absence of water shapes the rhythm of daily life. Every meal depends on careful attention to hydration. Sometimes water scarcity leads to creativity. Snow is melted in kettles over small fires. Ice is chipped and stored in barrels wrapped with straw. Even animal snow prints can hint at nearby water sources. Hunters and gatherers watch how animals move, where the deer comes to drink, where the river stays unfrozen, to locate liquid gold hidden beneath ice. Wind and cold make this work dangerous. Hands numb from frost, buckets heavy with water, paths slippery with ice. Missteps happen. A splash of frozen water can chill someone to the bone. Hypothermia lurks silently, waiting for carelessness. Patience and preparation are key. A single mistake could turn a simple chore into an emergency. Back inside the longhouse, water is carefully rationed. Children are reminded not to waste a drop. Adults check barrels and pots daily. Ice forming on the surface is chipped away carefully. Every sip is precious. Even cooking requires mindfulness. Soup must simmer gently. Grains must soak long enough without drying. Water becomes both life and lesson, teaching patience, caution, and respect for the frozen world. By evening, water chores slow as darkness falls. The river is too frozen to approach safely. Snowstorms make travel treacherous. But inside, the longhouse hums with life. Buckets are full, animals watered, and humans nourished. Fire crackles, providing warmth. Food simmers. Children draw water from storage pots, practicing the careful rhythms they will need all winter. Even humor finds its way in this careful routine. A child might pretend to pour water over a parent's boots, only to be met with mock indignation. I warned you. Now my boots are frozen harder than the river. Everyone laughs. Even when work is hard, cold is sharp, and water scarce, laughter provides warmth as potent as any cloak or fire. In midwinter, water is more than liquid. It is warmth, life, and ritual. The scarcity teaches patience. Its presence nourishes body and soul. And even in the harshest cold, it reminds the Vikings that life continues. The frozen streams and ice-covered rivers are obstacles, but obstacles that can be overcome with skill, care, and a little creativity. The day ends as it began, with careful attention to water. Buckets are checked, ice chipped, storage covered. Water is safe. Food is cooked. Animals are nourished. Humans are ready to sleep. Because in the frozen north, water is life. And those who respect it, care for it, and work patiently with it survive. Every sip, every careful step, every melted drop is proof that humans can endure even when the world outside is nothing but ice. Chapter 10: Wolves, Bears, and Other Winter Predators. Winter in the north is harsh enough without predators lurking in the shadows. Wolves roam in packs, bears slumber deep in dens, and foxes and lynxes hunt quietly through the snow. For the Vikings, surviving the cold wasn't just about staying warm or fed. It was about staying alive in a land where predators are clever, hungry, and patient. Wolves are the constant threat. Packs move silently through forests, snow muffling their steps. They track the smell of prey over long distances. Deer, rabbits, livestock, and sometimes even humans, if they are careless, can become targets. Families in the longhouse knew the signs. Tracks in fresh snow, disturbed underbrush, distant howls carried on the wind. Awareness is a constant companion in winter. You never quite relax. Livestock are the most vulnerable. Cows, goats, and sheep huddle together for warmth, but they also become meals for wolves if left unprotected. Fences, sturdy gates, and nighttime guard duties are essential. Animals are brought into the longhouse or nearby pens when danger is high. Even a single gap in a fence can invite disaster. A vigilant guard, torch in hand, walking the perimeter of the settlement, becomes a silent hero of survival. Wolves are clever. They test defenses, probe weaknesses, and retreat if necessary. Adults watch for signs. Tracks leading toward the pens, shadows moving near the tree line, howls that echo too close. Children are taught early to stay close and quiet, never wandering alone outside the longhouse. The forest is beautiful, but it has teeth. Respect keeps them safe. Bears are different threats. Most hibernate through winter, deep in dens insulated with leaves, moss, and earth. But early or late in winter, hungry bears may emerge. A bear is a solitary challenge, massive and dangerous. If one wanders near the longhouse, alarms are raised. Torches, noise, and sometimes fire arrows are used to scare it off. Bears are respected and feared, but rarely cause as consistent a threat as wolves. Still, their presence is a reminder that even winter's quiet can be deadly. Other predators, like lynxes and foxes, are smaller but still dangerous, especially to small livestock or unattended children. Lynxes move silently, striking with precision. Foxes can be mischievous, stealing chickens or scavenging near the longhouse. Tracking their movements, noticing footprints, and setting small deterrents are constant tasks. The frozen world demands constant attention to every sound, every movement, every shadow. Hunting predators is also part of winter life. Sometimes, wolves are trapped with snares or hunted in coordinated packs. Adult men track footprints, observe behavior, and strike only when safe. Even then, wolves are respected. They are cunning, resilient, and beautiful in their efficiency. Killing one is not a sport. It is a necessity. Every wolf killed may save a family's livestock, and therefore their lives. Predator awareness extends to children. Even in play, lessons are embedded. Stories of clever foxes or dangerous wolves are told by the hearth. Children learn to recognize tracks in the snow, how to move quietly, and the importance of staying in sight of adults. Survival is a lesson learned early, taught softly with examples and gentle warnings. Inside the longhouse, precautions are constant. Animals are fed and monitored, fences are reinforced, and gates are checked. Fire and light act as deterrents. Wolves and foxes are wary of humans and flames. A well-tended hearth doesn't just warm, it protects. Even animals instinctively recognize this. Chickens stay closer to the house. Goats cluster in corners. Cows press against walls. Safety and warmth become intertwined. Predators also shape the rhythm of daily life. Hunting, gathering, and chores are scheduled with awareness of their presence. Trips outside are coordinated. Work is never rushed but never absent. Nightfall is respected. Darkness is dangerous. Torches and watch duties extend the longhouse's protective bubble. Every shadow outside is watched with a cautious eye. Winter storms make predators even more unpredictable. Snow muffles their footsteps, winds carry scents in strange directions, and deep drifts provide hiding places. Wolves may approach closer than usual, foxes move into unusual territory, and bears may wander near rivers for fish. Vikings must adapt continuously, adjusting routines, reinforcing defenses, and staying vigilant. Despite the danger, humans are not helpless. Dogs are trained to alert and sometimes defend. Fences and pens are improved each year. Fire is a deterrent. Noise can scare off a curious predator. Knowledge and preparation tip the balance. Even a small settlement can withstand the threats of winter predators with careful attention. Humor persists even in these tense situations. Someone might joke about a fox negotiating for chicken diplomacy, or a wolf forgetting its manners. Children laugh quietly, but lessons are never forgotten. Laughter itself becomes a survival tool. A calm mind sees danger clearly. Panic invites mistakes. Humor softens fear. Tracking predators teaches skill, observation, and patience. Every footprint, broken branch, or tuft of fur is information. Adults teach these lessons slowly, gently, letting children observe first, then try under supervision. Winter in the north is a school without walls. Every day, every movement, every task teaches life and survival. By night, when predators retreat into shadows or dens, vigilance remains. Fires are maintained, animals checked, and watch rotations continue. Even the faintest howl or rustle in the snow demands attention. Sleep comes in shifts or carefully monitored stretches. The frozen world allows no complete complacency. But inside the longhouse, warmth, light, and careful planning create safety. Fire crackles. Animals breathe softly. Families gather. The knowledge of how to live alongside wolves, bears, and foxes, of how to respect, predict, and protect against them, allows humans to thrive even in a frozen landscape. Predators are not enemies in the storybook sense. They are part of the world, part of the rhythm of winter life. Respecting them, understanding their movements, and taking cautious action is essential. Survival is a balance, a dance between human skill and animal instinct. Even at the end of a long winter day, when shadows press against the walls of the longhouse and snow drifts high outside, the knowledge that predators are accounted for provides calm. Every fence, every watch, every careful step is proof of vigilance. And as sleep comes, the howls, growls, and rustles become part of the rhythm of winter life. Distant, dangerous, but managed. Because in the north, predators are always near. But humans, careful, patient, clever, learn to live alongside them. Respect, preparation, and community transform a frozen, dangerous landscape into a place where life endures. the longhouse becomes more than shelter. It is a fortress, a refuge, and a school for survival. Wolves may prowl, bears may roam, foxes may sneak, but those who live wisely, observe closely, and respect the land thrive. And in winter, that is victory enough. Chapter 11: Winter Tools and Weapons. How Vikings worked with ice and wood. Winter in the north is not just cold, it is relentless. Snow piles high, rivers freeze solid, and the landscape becomes both beautiful and brutal. In this frozen world, Vikings relied on their tools and weapons more than ever. Wood, iron, and ingenuity were lifelines. Every piece of equipment had a purpose, and every tool was an extension of survival. The first and most essential tool is the axe. Not just for battle, though it could serve there too. In winter, an axe is a key to warmth. Splitting logs for the hearth, chopping frozen wood from the forest, or shaping timbers for repairs. Without a sharp, sturdy axe, life slows drastically. The sound of chopping echoes through snowy forests, rhythmic and satisfying. Chop, crack, chop. It is the soundtrack of survival. Axes come in many sizes. Large ones for felling trees, smaller ones for carving, splitting kindling, or detailed work. Handles are reinforced, sometimes wrapped in leather for grip, when snow or ice makes hands slippery. Iron heads are polished, maintained carefully. Rust is a silent enemy. One dull axe in midwinter is dangerous. Can slip, break, or fail when it is needed most. Knives are everywhere. Sharp, small, versatile. Cutting meat, carving wood, scraping hides, or making snow shelters, knives are indispensable. Every adult and many children carry one. Blades are sharpened constantly, edges checked before work begins. Knives must be respected. Careless use leads to injury, and injury in winter can be disastrous. Saws are also vital. Cutting logs for fire, wood for repairs, or planks for sleds and carts. All require sharp, functional saws. Snow and ice make work slower, heavier, and colder. A broken saw is not just inconvenient. It can leave a family without enough wood to survive a week of bitter cold. Tools are not luxuries in winter. They are survival. Hammers, chisels, and awls complete the toolkit. Repairs are constant. Snow crushes roofs, frost splits wood, ice damages equipment. Each tool has its job. A hammer drives nails into timbers, a chisel shapes wood, and an awl pierces leather for stitching cloaks, boots, or belts. Every tool is part of a system, a dance of preparation and repair that keeps the longhouse alive. Weapons are also tools. Spears, bows, and axes double as hunting devices. A well-aimed arrow or spear saves meat, provides warmth, and ensures survival. Hunting in snow requires knowledge of terrain, understanding of animal behavior, and skill with a weapon. Even small tools like a sharpened stick or a handcrafted trap become crucial. Ice and snow make hunting harder, but clever use of tools tips the balance in favor of the hunter. Ice itself becomes a tool. Thick river ice can be broken into blocks for building, melting for water, or even creating temporary sled paths. Tools adapted for ice, spikes, hooks, and chisels help Vikings work with frozen landscapes rather than against them. Snow can be packed into insulation for shelters, used to cover food stores, or shaped to create windbreaks. Every task is a lesson in creativity. Sharpening is a daily ritual. Axes, knives, and spearheads must be honed before they fail. Stones are kept near the fire for this purpose. Heat makes steel expand slightly, allowing fine-tuning. Children watch adults carefully, learning how to maintain an edge, how to test it safely, and why a dull blade in winter is worse than useless. It is dangerous. Repairing tools is constant work. Wooden handles crack under cold. Iron heads loosen. Leather grips dry and split. Vikings carry repair kits. Sinew, resin, spare wood, and basic metal tools. Even minor damage is addressed immediately. In winter, a broken axe or a cracked bough is more than an inconvenience. it is a threat to survival. Carving and shaping wood takes on new importance in winter. Handles, sleds, furniture, and even simple utensils are made from available timber. Snow slows travel, so local wood must be used efficiently. Mistakes are costly, but creativity and skill save time, energy, and effort. Children are taught to carve small tools as part of their learning. Even a small wooden peg can become essential in holding a shelter together. Fire maintenance tools are crucial, too. Tongs, pokers, and bellows help control hearths. Fires are life in winter. Without proper tools, controlling heat is harder. Sparks can ignite bedding. Smoke can choke children. Flames must be nurtured carefully, guided with skillful hands and the right instruments. Every tool, every weapon has a place and a purpose. Organization matters. Knives are kept in sheaths. Axes hung on walls or near work areas. Saws stored safely, ready for use. In a longhouse, chaos with tools can be deadly. A mislaid axe can cut a hand. A dull blade can slow the splitting of firewood, leaving the household cold. Humor often lightens the heavy work. Someone might joke about an axe biting back when splitting a tricky log. A child may pretend a knife is a sword for chasing snowdrifts. Laughter weaves into the rhythm of labor, making even the coldest, hardest tasks bearable. Tools and weapons become part of daily life, but life itself is never without warmth or humor. Even the smallest implements matter. Needles, awls, small chisels, and pins are tiny lifelines. They mend clothes, repair furs, and maintain survival gear. In midwinter, a missing needle or snapped pin can slow essential work, forcing improvisation. Vikings respect these small tools as much as axes or spears. They are equal partners in enduring the frozen months. Coordination of tools is a daily rhythm. Morning chores: check knives, sharpen axes, prepare hunting gear. Midday, repair equipment, carve wood, mend leather. Evening, inspect tools, store safely, ensure fire instruments are ready. Each step is deliberate, slow, and mindful. The frozen world allows no rush. Mistakes are punished by cold, lost time, or failed hunts. By night, tools rest, but only briefly. Axes hang, knives are sheathed, and repair kits are stored. The longhouse glows with hearth light, illuminating polished wood, sharpened iron, and neatly arranged implements. The rhythm of the day, anchored by the proper use of tools and weapons, keeps everyone alive. Even in darkness, every piece has a story, a purpose, and a role in survival. Winter tools and weapons are not luxuries. They are extensions of the human body and mind, amplifying skill, patience, and creativity. Axes split wood. Knives carve, sharpen, and prepare. Spears hunt. Ice is shaped. Fire is guided. Together, they transform a frozen landscape from hostile to manageable, from threatening to a space where life continues. And for the Vikings, mastery of these tools is more than survival, it is independence. Every blade, every splintered log, every sharpened point is proof that humans can endure winter with patience, skill, and a little humor. Chapter 12: Midwinter Festivals. Light, fire, and community in the darkest months. Winter in the north is long, dark, and cold. The sun barely rises, shadows stretch across the snow, and nights feel endless. But even in this frozen silence, Vikings found ways to celebrate, to come together, and to chase away the darkness. Midwinter festivals were more than fun. They were lifelines for the spirit, moments of warmth and light in the harshest months. The largest and most important celebration is Yule, a festival that stretches across several days. Yule is a time to honor ancestors, gods, and the rhythms of nature. It marks the turning of the sun, the hope that longer days will come. But more practically, it is a reason to gather, share food, light fires, and remind everyone that life continues, even when the frost presses hard against the walls. Preparations begin well in advance. Fires are checked, torches gathered, and homes decorated with evergreens. Holly, pine, and mistletoe are woven into garlands and hung across beams. The scent of evergreen fills the longhouse, mingling with smoke from the hearth. Even the animals seem to notice. Goats and cows nuzzle the branches curiously, while children laugh at the smell and play under hanging boughs. Feasts are central. Large portions of meat, fish, and vegetables are prepared, seasoned, and cooked over the hearth. Stews simmer for hours. Bread and pastries are baked. Ale and mead flow generously. In winter, food is not just sustenance, it is celebration. Families share what they have, sometimes pooling resources to make the feast more abundant. Even a small deer or a few rabbits, carefully prepared, can feed many when everyone contributes. Music is part of the festival. Harps, flutes, and simple drums provide rhythm. Voices sing old songs, tales of gods, heroes, and ancestors. Sometimes the songs are funny, sometimes solemn, sometimes slightly scary, and always mesmerizing. The music echoes in the longhouse, bouncing off timbered walls and straw floors, creating warmth that fire alone cannot provide. Children often join in, clapping, stomping, or trying to sing along. Their laughter is infectious. Games and contests break up the quiet of winter. Wrestling, stone lifting, archery, and running in snow are popular. Even small competitions bring joy and community spirit. A child might pretend to wrestle a grown-up, who dramatically falls into the snow for laughter. The snow crunches under feet, red cheeks glow, and the cold is momentarily forgotten. These games strengthen bonds, pass down traditions, and keep muscles limber in frozen months. Storytelling is another highlight. Elders gather children around the fire, weaving tales of gods like Odin and Thor, of heroic ancestors, or strange creatures that roam forests and rivers. Shadows dance across walls, flickering in rhythm with firelight. Some stories are funny, some cautionary, and some magical. Children listen, rapt, sometimes interrupting with questions or jokes. Laughter and awe mix, filling the longhouse with warmth deeper than any cloak could provide. Gift-giving is part of Yule. Simple, handmade items, carved wooden figures, small tools, woven belts, or embroidered cloth, are exchanged. Even a small token carries meaning. It shows thought, skill, and connection. In the frozen north, these small gestures carry more weight than gold or silver. They reinforce bonds, remind everyone of shared effort, and bring joy in the darkest season. Fires are everywhere. Hearths burn steadily inside, but bonfires often blaze outside when weather allows. Smoke curls into the pale sky. Flames crackle. Villagers gather around, sharing stories, toasting food, and keeping predators at bay. Fire is both literal and symbolic. A shield against cold, a beacon in darkness, a signal of life and community. Animals are included too. Goats, sheep, and even dogs become part of the celebration. They are fed specially that day, given attention and warmth. Children play with them. Even the livestock seems to understand. There is extra laughter, extra care, extra warmth. Life is celebrated in all its forms. Winter festivals also teach lessons. Patience, preparation, cooperation, and gratitude are emphasized. Elders remind everyone that the cold and darkness will pass, but careful work and shared effort keep the settlement safe. Stories highlight resourcefulness, how ancestors survived harsh winters, hunted carefully, and respected the land and its creatures. Humor, warmth, and repetition reinforce survival skills subtly while keeping spirits high. Sometimes storms rage during festivals. Snow drifts pile high, wind whistles through the longhouse, and outdoor celebrations are curtailed. But indoor fires, music, games, and storytelling adapt. People huddle close, sharing blankets, moving closer to hearths, and keeping each other warm. Even when nature is unkind, community persists. The celebration continues, just in smaller, cozier ways. By the final day, exhaustion and satisfaction mingle. Bellies are full, furs are warm, hands are chapped from snow and fire, but hearts are light. Children are sleepy but happy. Adults are tired but content. Elders smile at the younger generation learning traditions, practicing skills, and enjoying simple joys. The rhythm of life, even in darkness, is reinforced. After the festival, routines slowly resume, but the spirit lingers. Stories, songs, and laughter are remembered. The longhouse feels warmer, not just from the fire but from shared experience. Food, drink, and preparation resume their steady rhythm, but with a sense of connection and hope. Winter no longer feels endless. Yule reminds everyone that spring will come again. Humor, warmth, and community are as essential as firewood or food. A joke about a clumsy dancer in the snow or a goat stealing a loaf of bread spreads quickly. Laughter becomes survival. Even when the cold presses outside, inside the longhouse, spirits remain unbroken. In the end, midwinter festivals are about more than celebration. They are lessons, lifelines, and reminders. They teach patience, resilience, and cooperation. They honor ancestors, gods, and the natural world. They create memories that carry families through long nights. They transform frozen months from mere survival into a shared experience of warmth, light, and joy. Because in the darkest, coldest months, humans need more than food and fire. They need each other. And through festivals, music, stories, and laughter, life in the frozen north continues. Not just survives, but thrives. Chapter 13: Midwinter Illnesses and Medicine. How Vikings kept healthy in the cold. Winter in the north is not just about snow, frost, and darkness. It is also about illness. Cold winds, frozen water, and close quarters inside the longhouse create the perfect conditions for coughs, fevers, and aches. For the Vikings, staying healthy in midwinter was as much a challenge as finding food, water, or warmth. Survival depended on knowledge, preparation, and a little folk wisdom. The first rule was prevention. Staying warm is health in the north. Layers of wool, fur-lined boots, thick mittens, and hoods protect not just from frostbite, but also from the chill that invites coughs and colds. Longhouse fires are maintained carefully, with smoke vented just enough to avoid suffocating inhabitants. Steam and warmth keep the body resilient. A dry, well-insulated home is a shield against winter illnesses. Nutrition is the second line of defense. A diet of hearty stews, porridge, root vegetables, dried meat, and fish provides the calories, vitamins, and minerals needed to resist sickness. Fermented foods like skyr, sauerkraut, and pickled roots support digestion and immunity. Even small portions of preserved berries provide vitamin C, helping prevent scurvy. In the frozen months, every bite counts. A full belly is a healthy belly. Hygiene, though different from modern standards, is also important. Water is precious, but washing hands and faces with snow or melted ice prevents some diseases. Hair is combed and occasionally washed, and clothing is aired near the fire to reduce dampness and odors. Even simple practices like keeping bedding dry and changing straw in animal pens reduce the spread of illness. It's not glamorous, but it works. When sickness strikes, Vikings rely on natural remedies. Herbs are gathered in summer and stored for winter. Willow bark is used for pain and fever. Juniper berries and pine needles are brewed into teas for colds. Honey is combined with herbs to soothe sore throats. A poultice of moss or clay might be applied to wounds. Knowledge of plants, roots, and minerals is passed down orally from parent to child. Survival depends on remembering which leaf or berry works for which ailment. Steam and smoke are also used for medicine. Steam from boiling herbs eases congestion. Smoke from burning certain plants is inhaled to ward off coughs. Even a smoky hearth provides some antiseptic qualities in the air. Sitting near the fire, breathing in herbal aromas, is both comforting and practical. Children often enjoy the scents, though adults joke, "Don't drink the smoke. It's warm, but not tasty." Physical care is important. Massage and rubbing help stiff muscles and cold hands or feet. Rest is prioritized for the sick. Even in a busy longhouse, someone unwell is allowed to stay near the hearth, wrapped in blankets, sipping warm broth. A community effort ensures that illness doesn't spread quickly and that those affected are cared for. Isolation is subtle but effective. A sick person may sleep in a slightly separate corner of the longhouse, or in extreme cases, a smaller outbuilding near the main shelter. Distance, warmth, and ventilation reduce the chance that the flu or cold spreads. Vikings understood that fire, warmth, and air movement are as important as herbs or remedies. Small injuries are treated immediately. Cuts from knives, splinters from wood, or bruises from ice slips are cleaned with water, sometimes snow, and wrapped in clean cloth or leather. The goal is to prevent infection, which in winter can be far more dangerous than the cold itself. Even a minor infection can become life-threatening if left untreated in a frozen longhouse. Fever and chills are carefully monitored. Layers of blankets, warm drinks, and herbal teas are used to stabilize body temperature. Sweating is sometimes encouraged to break a fever, while cold compresses are applied to reduce discomfort. Observation is constant. In a small family or settlement, every adult watches over the sick. Vigilance is key. Children are particularly vulnerable. They are bundled in layers, kept near fire, and encouraged to rest. Parents tell stories, sing songs, or play quiet games to keep spirits up. Laughter, warmth, and companionship are medicine as much as herbs. Even a short story by candlelight can lift morale, easing the discomfort of chills and aches. The longhouse itself becomes a tool for health. Thick walls and roofs provide insulation. Smoke from the hearth has antiseptic properties. Shared heat reduces frostbite risk. Animals inside produce warmth but are monitored carefully to prevent disease. The architecture and layout are as much about survival and health as about comfort. Community knowledge is crucial. Elders teach the young which herbs help a cold, how to treat a sprain, and which combinations are safe for children. Mistakes can be costly, so learning is hands-on but cautious. Storytelling often doubles as instruction. A tale about a clever healer or a disastrous winter reminds listeners of practical wisdom without making it feel like a lecture. Humor remains important even in sickness. A child sneezes and someone jokes, "Bless you, you just scared the frost away." Laughter helps both morale and immune response. Even in a long, dark winter, small joys prevent despair, and despair is worse for health than cold fingers. Mental health is also considered. Darkness and cold can weigh heavily. Singing, storytelling, games, and shared chores keep spirits bright. Depression is subtle but recognized. Engagement in the community, attention from elders, and playful interaction prevent gloom from settling in. Vikings understand that surviving winter is more than physical. It is mental, too. By midwinter, the combination of warmth, nutrition, hygiene, observation, herbs, and community care keeps illness manageable. Serious sicknesses still occur, but careful preparation and knowledge reduce fatalities. The frozen north is brutal, but the Vikings' approach to health, both practical and spiritual, gives them a fighting chance. Even as snow falls silently outside, the longhouse remains alive with warmth, smell of broth, crackle of fire, and gentle hum of care. Illness exists, but life continues. Vigilance, patience, and folk wisdom ensure that every member of the household survives winter with as little suffering as possible. Because in the frozen north, survival is more than food, water, and clothing. It is also about health, care, and community. And those who respect these principles live to see the sun climb higher in the sky, heralding the slow return of warmth and light. Chapter 14: Social Life in a Longhouse, Stories, Games, and Family Bonds. In the frozen north, life is hard. The cold bites, snow piles high, and darkness dominates the sky. But inside the longhouse, life is warm, noisy, and full of connection. Social life in winter isn't optional, it's essential. Humans are social creatures, and even in survival mode, laughter, stories, and games keep spirits alive. The longhouse is the heart of social life. Its large, timbered walls hold fire, smoke, animals, and people. Benches line the walls, tables sit in the center, and the hearth dominates the room. Everyone gathers near the fire. Its crackle is constant background music. Its warmth is shared by children, adults, and even small animals. This is where life happens, where stories are told, meals are shared, and games are played. Storytelling is perhaps the most cherished activity. Elders and parents spin tales of gods, heroes, and clever ancestors. Each story has a rhythm, sometimes funny, sometimes serious, often with lessons hidden in the plot. A tale of Thor wrestling frost giants might end with a moral about patience or clever thinking. Children sit wide-eyed, learning about bravery, wisdom, and humor simultaneously. Even small interruptions, sneezes, giggles, or a wandering cat become part of the narrative rhythm, and the storyteller adapts, laughing along. Games keep children engaged and teach skills. Wrestling on straw-strewn floors, mock battles with sticks, and racing through snow-covered paths develop strength, coordination, and strategy. Adults participate, too. A simple tossing game with stones, a foot race in snow, or a target contest with small wooden arrows allows everyone to exercise and bond. Humor is constant. Someone inevitably slips on straw, trips over a bench, or misses a throw spectacularly, prompting laughter and shared amusement. Music is central. Harps, flutes, drums, and simple percussion instruments fill the longhouse with rhythm and melody. Everyone participates in some way, singing, clapping, stomping feet to the beat. Children learn songs orally, copying elders, sometimes mispronouncing words or adding extra flourishes. Mistakes are celebrated with laughter, not scolding. Music weaves together generations, connecting young and old in shared joy. Meals are social events. Food is shared, portions generous within limits, and conversation flows alongside the stew, bread, and preserved meat. Everyone has a role. Children fetch water, adults serve dishes, and elders supervise. Stories often accompany meals, reinforcing bonds and entertaining listeners while teaching lessons about history, morality, or clever thinking. Even a simple snack becomes an opportunity for connection. Crafting and work also have social dimensions. While repairing tools, sewing cloaks, or preparing food, people work together. Adults demonstrate techniques, children imitate, and everyone learns through observation and participation. Tasks are never solitary. Shared effort not only improves efficiency but strengthens relationships. The longhouse hums with chatter, instruction, and laughter, a constant background to survival work. Humor is woven into daily life. Teasing is gentle and playful. A child wearing an oversized cloak may pretend to vanish in snow, prompting exaggerated mock searches. A goat stealing bread inspires dramatic storytelling about the great bread thief of winter. Humor relieves stress, reinforces social bonds, and reminds everyone that even in hardship, life has joy. Even chores carry social weight. Carrying water, tending animals, chopping firewood. These are group activities. Adults supervise children carefully, teaching them proper techniques while keeping the mood light. Teamwork makes tasks quicker, safer, and more enjoyable. Children learn responsibility in ways that are engaging rather than punitive. Cooperation is survival, and social life is the method by which it is maintained. Elders play a unique role. Their stories, advice, and oversight guide the household. They are repositories of knowledge about survival, weather patterns, hunting, herbal remedies, and community etiquette. Children watch them closely, absorbing wisdom through observation. Elders also mediate disputes, settle small disagreements, and teach patience and respect. In the Longhouse, authority is gentle but firm, anchored in experience. Celebrations and festivals amplify social life. Yule and other gatherings create structured moments for shared joy. Music, food, games, and storytelling reach a peak. Community bonds strengthen. Children learn their place in the larger group, adults reinforce traditions, and everyone participates in rituals that maintain social cohesion. Even when storms howl outside, the Longhouse glows with warmth and connection. Animals are also part of the social fabric. Goats, sheep, cats, and dogs interact with humans constantly. Children feed them, play with them, and learn empathy. Even the smallest interaction teaches patience, care, and responsibility. Animals provide comfort, companionship, and a living connection to the natural world outside. Even quiet moments are social. Sitting by the fire, mending clothes, or quietly observing snowfall is often shared in companionable silence. Conversation may be sparse, but presence is significant. A hand on a shoulder, a smile across the hearth, or a nod acknowledges connection. In long, dark winters, even silent companionship is crucial. Conflict exists, of course, but it is handled within the social framework. Arguments are resolved quickly to maintain warmth and peace. Elders intervene. Children learn negotiation, compromise, and empathy. These lessons are not taught formally. They are absorbed through daily interaction. Survival depends on social cohesion as much as firewood or food stores. By night, when the hearth burns low and shadows lengthen, social bonds remain. People sleep close together, animals nearby, stories lingering in memory. Music, laughter, games, and shared work leave echoes of warmth in hearts long after the fire dies down. The Longhouse becomes a fortress, not just of wood and fire, but of connection, care, and companionship. Social life in winter is survival. Stories teach, games develop skill, music connects generations, humor relieves stress, and shared labor ensures safety. The Longhouse is a school, a stage, and a sanctuary. Every laugh, song, and gentle lesson strengthens the community. Because in the frozen north, the cold is constant, darkness is relentless, and survival is difficult. But humans endure best when they endure together. Chapter 15, Preparing for Spring. Lessons learned from the winter. Winter in the north is long, cold, and often unforgiving. But it is also a teacher. Each day of frozen snow, biting wind, and short sunlight offers lessons in patience, skill, and resilience. As the last weeks of winter slip by, Vikings begin preparing for spring. Not just planting seeds, but readying themselves, their tools, and their longhouses for the months ahead. Preparation starts with observation. Elders and hunters notice subtle changes. The angle of the sun, the sound of melting ice in streams, the return of certain birds. Each small sign signals the approach of thaw, guiding when it is safe to travel, when rivers will flow freely, and when animals begin moving back into open fields. Attention to these details is crucial. A misread season can lead to lost crops, missed hunts, or dangerous trips through still frozen terrain. Tools and weapons are checked and repaired in earnest. Axes are sharpened, knives honed, bows strung and tested. Wooden handles are reinforced, leather grips treated, and small tools accounted for. Winter has taken its toll, and spring will demand precision and skill. A splintered axe handle or a dull knife could mean wasted hours in the forest or fields. Preparation now saves time, energy, and potentially food later. Food stores are examined and managed carefully. Dried meat, smoked fish, root vegetables, and preserved grains are counted and portioned. Some stores are used up before planting season, while reserves are set aside for emergencies. Preservation methods are assessed. Are the smoked meats truly dry? Are berries properly sealed? Is water clean and safe? Every item is part of survival planning. Winter teaches innovation. The lessons learned during months of scarcity inspire new strategies for spring. Snow and ice have been tools, shelters have been tested, and routines refined. Small improvements are noted. Perhaps a more efficient way to chop wood, a better method for melting snow, or a sturdier fence design. These lessons carry forward into planting, hunting, and building when the weather warms. Children participate actively in preparation. They gather tools, help clean storage areas, and practice basic skills like sharpening knives or carrying small loads of water. These activities teach responsibility, endurance, and the value of contributing to the household. Every child's small effort is recognized and encouraged, forming habits that will last a lifetime. The longhouse itself is prepared for spring. Roofs are inspected for damage from snow and ice. Floors are repaired where frost has warped planks. Doors and shutters are checked, ensuring they open and close smoothly for warmer weather. Even minor repairs are important. A leaky roof or jammed door in spring could disrupt planting, chores, and daily life. Hunting and foraging techniques are reviewed. The winter months have highlighted successful strategies and revealed mistakes. Hunters discuss what worked and what didn't. Tracking skills are refreshed, traps repaired, and new ideas for fishing, hunting, and gathering in spring are tested. Knowledge gained from months of cold guides decisions for the seasons ahead. Community cooperation strengthens as the thaw approaches. Neighboring longhouses coordinate tasks like building repairs, clearing paths, and sharing resources. Festivals may be held to celebrate the coming season, reinforcing social bonds. Even in preparation, Vikings understand that working together ensures survival and efficiency. Shared effort reduces risk and increases productivity. Mental and emotional lessons are equally important. Winter has tested patience, resilience, and adaptability. By late winter, everyone has experienced discomfort, hunger, or fatigue, but each challenge survived builds confidence. Children witness adults managing cold, illness, and scarcity calmly. Laughter, storytelling, and shared meals have kept spirits high, proving that endurance is not just physical. It is emotional and social. Plants and seeds are prepared. Root vegetables stored through winter are sorted for replanting, grains are cleaned, and herbs are measured for spring planting. Even small details like arranging tools for digging or sharpening plows are addressed. Preparation ensures that when the ground softens, work can begin immediately. Timing is critical. Early planting can mean abundant harvest. Delay can risk crop failure. Water management is also considered. Ice from rivers and snowbanks may be collected to irrigate fields once spring arrives. Channels are planned, containers repaired, and techniques for maintaining water flow in thawing terrain are refined. Winter water lessons, how to break ice, melt snow, and store liquid, are applied directly to agricultural planning. By the final weeks of winter, hunting and gathering are used strategically to supplement dwindling stores. Every meal is a chance to conserve, practice preservation techniques, and reinforce skills for the new season. Families take stock of remaining resources, ensuring no waste occurs and that they enter spring with maximum efficiency. Even rituals and storytelling prepare people mentally. Tales of past winters, survival, and resilience are recounted. Children and adults alike reflect on lessons learned. Humor remains a constant companion. Jokes about slipping in snow, misbehaving animals, or clumsy helpers remind everyone that even preparation can be lighthearted. Laughter reduces stress and strengthens bonds, just as it did in the heart of winter. Finally, the mind turns to hope. The longest nights are ending. Sunlight gradually grows stronger. The frozen rivers will thaw, snowdrifts will melt, and the first green shoots will appear. Preparation is not just practical, it is spiritual. It signals optimism, resilience, and confidence that life continues. Everything learned in winter, skills, lessons, strategies, and social bonds, carries forward, ensuring the community can thrive in spring. By the time snow begins to recede, Vikings are ready. Tools are sharpened, food reserves organized, longhouses repaired, and skills refined. Children are experienced, families are bonded, and communities are connected. The frozen months have done their work, teaching patience, persistence, and resourcefulness. The longhouse, once a fortress against winter, becomes a launch pad for spring. Because surviving winter is not just about enduring cold. It is about learning, adapting, and preparing. Every frostbitten finger, sleepless night, and careful observation becomes part of a cycle that ensures life continues. And when the first thaw comes, Vikings are ready, hardened, clever, and alive, eager to greet the sun and the promise of spring.